Hello and welcome to Trusty Chords, the podcast which aims to celebrate music and those that create it. If you've been paying attention to the Australian music scene in recent years, there's a good chance you might have come across the enigmatic majesty that is Our Carlson. Having got his start in the hardcore world over 2 decades ago, Carlson has spent the past few years cementing himself as a commanding figure within the world of electronic music, describing his work as trauma doof from the people's poet. In 2021, his A Bit Much EP gave punters a taste of what was to come, with passionate lyricism and stellar compositions fast winning over audiences. Meanwhile, 2023's follow-up A Bit Too Much continued the trend and gave us a further taste of what was still to come. This year, he's released the full-length record OC Spray, a collection of 9 tracks that showcase his musical diversity and myriad lyrical focuses. Alongside doof beats and eclectic production, you can even find elements of hyperpop and raw, stark vulnerability. It's a hell of a record, and one you definitely need to hear. Alongside the recorded music, however, Carlson also uses his position to champion the causes that matter, whether it's the likes of calling out strobes at shows or campaigning for Indigenous rights, a free Palestine, or the rights of the LGBTQI+ community. Carlson is a man with many focuses at any given time. This week, I was lucky enough to catch up with him again and have a chat about the new record, and everything that's gone on over the past few years. Anyway, have a listen to Our Carlson's OC Spray, have a listen to our chat, buy a ticket to his upcoming tour, and I'll see you at the end of the episode for some general housekeeping. Carlson, thank you very much for joining this episode of the Trusty Chords podcast.
Thanks for having me, mate.
So for those who might not recognise your name, could you give me a quick few words on who you are and why we're chatting today?
I play under the name Our Carlson. I make electronic music where I guess I traditionally have rambled over like a punk singer. And I just put out this record, OC Spray. Just launched that, and then now going on a bit of a tour as well up the East Coast.
Amazing. I always love a very succinct and to the point intro. I love it. Like I've had some folks talk for about 10 minutes or so, and I'm like, well, that's good, but keep snappy. But I guess what I'd love to do at the start of this podcast is go back in time to where love of music first formed. So do you have a recollection of your earliest memory of when music first resonated with you?
I remember when I was young, I'd drive around with my dad on a Saturday kind of thing and do some chores, and he'd always have AM radio on with ballads cranking. I can't remember if it was Magic 693. There was 2 AM stations that like changed. They changed their the dial. They swapped numbers. It was Magic and something else. But anyway, that was some of my first kind of memories. And then there was records at home. There was the Rolling Stones, all those kind of Beatles records, classics. And then there was a guy, Lovelace Watkins, who was like, he was a big black American guy that did covers and show tunes, but it was a live record, double live record. And he was funny as well, you know. He'd walk around the audience and be like, is everybody having a good time? We'll soon change that. And things like that. And the tunes were amazing, you know, like big band versions of like Ike and Tina Turner and like John Fogerty stuff. And yeah, so that was kind of it when I was young. And then my next door neighbor was into kind of like No Effects, kind of punk, skate punk, pop punk. And I started getting into that through there, probably from like Punkorama compilations.
Oh, yeah. Can't go past the Punkorama.
Yeah.
Very formative for a lot of people.
Yeah, number 3 was such a good one, I reckon, with it had all the circus freaks on the front cover.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking it up as we speak, actually, because I'm trying to remember what was on there. There's some good ones on there, weren't there? Well, we had No Effects, Dwarves, Bouncing Souls, H2O. Oh.
It's an absolute cracker. I still listen to it now. I still chuck it on every now and again.
Oh, totally.
For a bit of nostalgia, and I just go, oh, wait, this isn't even nostalgia. There's some great tunes on here.
Yeah.
And then I found hardcore music, hardcore punk, and a lot of my friends were sort of starting bands. hardcore punk bands. And then, yeah, I guess someone was like, when are you going to sing in a band? When are you going to do something? And yeah, we just had a bit of a jam. Some friends, my mate Chris Lichty, he had a property in Essendon, their family, and there's a bungalow out the back. And everyone could jam in the bungalow. You know, we all had keys and you just rock up and jam there. So we had a space, which was awesome. And then from there, started playing gigs at the art house, mostly the green room, things like that. Went on a couple of tours, put out a split with a band called Donkey Kong in Adelaide. That was on $2 Records, which so I guess it became Clarity Records, or yeah, Footy, the owner of, he was running $2, and then
Absolute champion Footy is.
he's an absolute
One of my
champion.
favorite people in the music industry.
Yeah.
Because so that I guess that band you're talking about there, that was King Brown, correct?
King Brown, yeah.
Because actually, because funnily enough, that the band Donkey Kong, I actually spoke to Jesse from Donkey Kong, or he was in Grenadiers for this podcast a few months ago. So it all comes full circle.
Yeah, I saw Jesse on Sunday.
Yeah, right. No, he's a good dude.
Oh, I missed his band. They were playing with In Name and Blood, to another hardcore band of the sort of mid 2000s, and they were doing 25-year anniversary tour. And yeah, Jesse's band, and there's Dave from the Rivalry also was in it, Dave Gibson, and yeah, they're meant to be cracking. I think I saw some clips and it sounds like Slayer.
Bloody, it's a pretty good recommendation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. So obviously, so it was around what, like 2005, 2006 or so. You had the King Brown project, wasn't it? It was about
I think it was around 2003 or 4 we started. Yeah, I think we finished around 6 or so.
Right. So I guess what sort of I guess musical lessons were you taking away from being in a bit of a hardcore punk band, considering where you are now? Like, what were you sort of learning from that? I mean, I guess on one hand, it's actually not that different, is it?
Yeah, not too different, but it was like such an unserious band. I think our sort of thing that we weren't serious. We didn't really. I push it now, you know, and I don't know if back then, I don't know, it's just like, oh, you're punk. You don't go out and advertise your music. You just play and
Exactly. That's
roll
selling
on
out
from
and everything like that, isn't it?
But that's a joke. Like, you know, it's not going to happen. It can happen maybe a little bit, but yeah, you've got to put yourself out there and push yourself. And I think part of the reason I did that, like, was because I was scared to really have a go. Because if it goes nowhere and you put all your effort into it, then, you know, you feel like you've failed. But if you just be a bit silly and it goes a little bit somewhere, you feel like you've kicked ass, you know. But you really haven't.
You're sort of able to sort of hide that sort of ambition behind like a bit of a facade, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're sort of able to say like, oh, I wasn't really taking it seriously if it doesn't go anywhere, even though you do genuinely care that it goes somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you want people at the gigs.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to be playing to an empty room at the Austral in Hindley Street or something.
Yeah.
So I guess after King Brown, what were your musical activities? Because I like to pride myself on a bit of a, journalistic investigator, but there's not much between King Brown and the launch of Our Carlson, is there?
Oh, there is, but so I had a band. I moved to Canada in 2009, I think. And I had a band then, and we were just about to start playing shows. Who was in that? Like Geordie was playing drums, and he used to be in the Graveyard Train.
Oh, okay, right.
A bunch of other bands. And Zephyr, who is in Total Control, and Terry, he was playing guitar. Yeah, and then Nat, another guy, Nat, on bass. But yeah, that was kind of all getting ready to go. And then I fell in love and moved to Canada.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I met my current partner, and she was going to Canada in 3 months' time when we met. And then 5 months. Like I had to save some money. I was really broke, and then landed like a pretty good union job and saved a bunch of money real fast and went over there. So that stopped that band. And then there was a one, we played like 3 or 4 shows that was called Motherfucking Teresa. Uh, and that was with Nat as well. And Izzy Stabs, who I did the Chappelle Corby song and a lot of the first record with. Most of the first record and the second record was with Izzy. Yeah. And then after that, Wild Bloom, which was up in Blackwood. I lived in a town of 350 people, about an hour and a half west of Melbourne. And luckily, out of those 350 people, we were able to put a band together. Simone, she was on drums. She'd never been in a band before. And we sort of found out she played drums and had a bit of a listen, and she's got a sick record collection. So that all really worked out. And Scott O'Hara, who was in Bitch Prefect, and Lindsay Lohan, and Lohan. I just said her real name, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he was on guitar, and that went for a while, but with Scotty left, and then we had another guitarist, and then he left, and then I was a bit over bands, and I felt like I was the one that was always pushing the band, and
Right. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
And then I saw Spike Fuck play to a backing track and was like,
yeah, Spike Fuck is something that you remember
I
when you
reckon
see,
I
isn't
could
it?
do this.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. And it's like just to a backing track. So yeah.
I should also say it's also very good to hear a reference to Bitch Prefect as well. Now, there's a band you can set your watch to. It's a bloody good
Yeah.
band, aren't they?
Amazing
Yeah.
band.
So I guess so it was about 2020 or so that the Our Carlson project really launched, or at least I guess like publicly, it's when you started sharing music, I think it was. So
Yeah.
so it was basically sort of from this inspiration of saying like, hey, I've seen Spike Fuck, I reckon I can do that. Like, was there anything else that you were sort of like, thinking? Because I mean, like obviously, you describe your work as trauma doof from the people's poet, but was that always the plan? Were you going into it saying, I want to do this?
No, well, when I was 33, I got diagnosed with epilepsy, and going through the system there, like the medical system for me was just hell. I didn't seem to be getting any answers. It felt like they were interviewing me to get some answers when I wanted them to give me answers. And yeah, it was very frustrating. And one day I was quite pissed off. I think I had some Madball or something playing on the stereo, and then I just sort of had this thing in my head, and I yelled the track "Ain't Too Great, Mate" just into my phone, and then Izzy came up to the country, and we popped it over some beats, and it worked. And we're like, oh, maybe we'll do some more of that. And it was just for me, really. I mean, I hadn't heard many people doing what I was doing, like singing like a bogan over electronic music. It doesn't really, yeah, it's not something that really happens that much. And I just thought it was a little thing for me. And yeah, started making the tracks and then sent them around to a few friends. And they're like, oh, this is great. What are you going to do with it? And yeah.
So I guess how much sort of thought was going into the stuff in those early days? Because like you're saying that you basically just had these sort of lyrics, just yell them into your phone as he comes around with the sort of beats. But was it a case of sort of like very very quick and to the point, or how considered was it? I guess
It was pretty quick and to the point at the start, but a lot of those songs changed a bit, and we sort of got better at producing, and yeah, picked up a bit. But even now, like this last record, all the Nicodemus songs we made in a afternoon, one song each, And I'd go in there with like, I kind of wanted to explore different kinds of music, and we'd go in there with, like, one day was donk, and Nicodemus was like, what are you talking about? What's donk? And because kind of an obscure thing that was popular in 2014 or something like that. I was like, oh, here we go, and just sort of got up 3 donk tracks and had a bit of a listen, and then we got a donk pack and put that on and just like got into the song. And I think I had 1 or 2 sort of ideas for lyrics, just little snippets, and then built the song around that sort of in the studio. And yeah, and then we'd usually go back and record the vocals again because I'd change them a little bit, and like I'd play them live and get a bit of a flow on them and then go back
Totally,
and
yeah. So just like working on them based on the feedback you're getting from the crowd, yeah.
yeah. And like the start of Epilepsy Sexy Back, where it's like skinny bodies, fat bodies, able bodies, disabled bodies, everybody is sexy. That was never in there. It was just like we were just looping that at the start, and I'd talk, and then I don't know, that just happened. I don't even know where that was.
Because I mean, because that was something that you've been saying at the live shows for quite a while, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Because when I listened to the album, I thought this is familiar. I remember hearing this. Yeah,
yeah. I've been playing that for a long time, and this record should have come out ages ago, but things just kept happening, and life just gets away from you. I went to Europe, played some shows, that kind of stopped everything, and had to put money into that and
what was the reaction from the European crowd? Like, how did they react to, I guess, electronic bogan music, if you will?
They really liked it. It was great. I mean, there's a fair language barrier, and it's like a lot of French people don't speak much English, or they speak a little bit of English, but luckily, revolution, capitalism, socialism, that's all taken from French language. So
true, yeah.
The
message got across, yeah.
And they could kind of get what I was saying pretty fast. And yeah, the reaction was amazing. And chats with people afterwards were really good. I think they have a longer history of disrupting the system over there. And yeah, therefore they're better at it. And it was good to chat to people about what they're doing and yeah, workers' parties that people are starting and things like that. It was really revitalizing, because sometimes here I feel like people are just a bit like, shut up, mate. Oh, Christ. They're a bit scared of the R word, revolution,
I understand completely.
Yeah, but over there, they like, you'd be with a French person and like in a village and see one of their neighbours and go and have a ricard with them in the afternoon, and they don't speak any English and they're explaining what I do, and then say revolution and they're like, oh, of course, revolution, perfect, of course, But over here,
sort of makes people a bit uncomfortable.
The same reaction. Many 70 or 80-year-olds.
Yeah. No,
so yeah, that was really, really good to go over there and yeah, know that the message as well is pretty universal. So, because I was quite worried. I was like, these people are not going to understand anything. Like, sometimes my lyrics have in-jokes that most people don't understand, let alone non-English speaking.
I get it. Well, I mean, because I was trying to work out where I was going with my questions, because I feel like I'm all over the place at the moment, but it feels like a good point, because like I think I first heard of your music back in 2022 when you were supporting My Good Mate's Bad Dreams at the ESPY.
Yeah.
And I'm just sure you'd probably agree that when it comes to music, there's often a moment where you go from enjoying something to really enjoying something. And for me, it was hearing that line in Ideology about Gary Ablett taking a specky over a pack of Gideons, or Gideon, sorry, and then hearing Capo Dog and sort of hearing this reference to Ray Capo. And I was like, it's so niche, but it just told me this music is something I'm going to enjoy. But I guess that is sort of a very labored way of me sort of asking and going on from the last bit about, with the live aspect of things, how vital do you consider the ability to deliver a stunning live experience? Because I feel like your music is so striking when it's experienced live. It's striking, on record too, but the live experience is something I think like vital to the Our Carlson experience. So I can only imagine that you're thinking, got to make this a top flight experience.
That comes from hardcore, I guess. My first gig was at the Forum which
Just casually.
is a very large stage. And I was supporting Cash. It was the
Yeah, of course, of course.
it was the second gig that the Forum had on from lockdown. I think the first lockdown, I don't even know. But yeah, that was the second gig they had on, and Cash was headlining, Blake Scott and me and Uncle Jack Charles did an acknowledgement at the start. So that was sick. But I had my friend Katie Pearson DJing. And so you're just up there. It's a DJ and one person on that massive stage. And I just thought, I don't know, I've got to take up this whole stage. And that's hardcore singers just going back and forth was kind of what I came up with. And yeah, I don't know. I can't help but yell a bit when I play live. I get in the studio and I do a song, and then when it comes to live, I guess that's hardcore too. I just sometimes Cash is like, mate, you don't have to yell. I'm like, I'm trying not to. I just can't help it. Just get excited and then yeah, just yell. And
I mean, especially as he mentioned, like, playing the Forum is like the first show. Because I mean, that's a pretty large stage. I mean, I've been lucky enough to play the Forum myself, and it's a big stage that you don't sort of like expect how big it is, and to be like one person needing to fill that space as well. That must be very daunting as well.
My record came out the day before, so like no one had really heard me, like a little bit, but not really. And yeah, wearing the sparkly suit. And because it's electronic music, it's tight. You don't have to play gigs as a band and get tight, And I'm in the suit and I'm ranting and raving. I think people were just like, is this a thing that I don't know about? Like, is this already a thing? And yeah, sort of took off from there. I guess because it was the Forum and like the second gig back, there was a few festival bookers and like yeah, band bookers there.
Amazing. So it's I mean, I guess it was it was pretty much a case of hitting the ground running, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then after that, I did a little tour with the UV Race, and that was mad. They're like one of my favorite bands.
A brilliant band, yeah.
Yeah, old mates, and that was really cool to do that, and just sort of ticked on from there.
Yeah. Because also like you sort of mentioning before about the message with things as well, and you also mentioned before about your experiences with epilepsy, and it's great to see more musicians shining this light on disabled individuals. So I guess my first question on that front, have you seen a bit of a shift in how disability has been perceived at all in recent years? Like, do you feel that the stigma surrounding disabled bodies is changing, or is it the same as ever?
Oh, it's
a tough one, isn't it?
Changing in my world and in on the left, and it's changing within our little music scenes. But yeah, I don't know if I can talk to the wider population.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because obviously you're so immersed in your own sort of world, I guess, and it is hard to see what the wider thing is. But I mean, at least if you are seeing some changes,
like politically, it seems to be. But then the NDIS gets cut, and you go, whoa, what's going on? We're stepping way backwards now, But the amount of disabled voices out there is amazing, and yeah, the Instagram's great it's horrible, but it's great for connecting with disabled people and chatting, and then doing things together,
Yeah, because I think you and I first met back at backstage at TISM show, the Prince of Wales.
Yeah,
and I think then I mentioned to you that I wanted to sort of interview you about disability and accessibility in music, because one of the reasons for this is so basically my mother passed away when I was 13, but 2 months after I was born until she passed away, she was a paraplegic. So I grew up with this topic of disability being normalized, and I've always sort of viewed things from this needs to change, this needs to be different point of view. And obviously there's still room to grow, but I think one thing I've always appreciated about you as well is using this platform to call things out, like, the use of strobe lights at gigs. And I've been noticing it more and more more since you've sort of really been pointing it out. And I'm sort of realizing, that's a bit of a dick move, having this sort of, having strobe lights playing, or having strobe lights on, I guess. And I guess from your own experience there, have you noticed a change on that front at all? Like, are less places utilizing strobes now? Because I feel like it's less, but you'd be someone better to speak to it, I feel.
Yeah, it's definitely less. I mean, I get contacted by people saying, hey, can you contact this venue and tell them that, their strobes are killing me, because maybe they don't want to do it themselves. And and it is becoming less. So I do it, and most places are like, yes, no worries, sorry about that. And they fix the problem, and it's great. There's like a couple of venues in Melbourne that have done it, and they're just perfect about it. They're, sorry, we didn't realise, you're absolutely right. We'll cut strobes from our lighting, and so that's really good. I used to love strobe warnings on Instagram, but I'm becoming to not like them. People are using less strobes, but now people just put a strobe warning up, and that's lovely, but it's almost like saying, I know that I shouldn't be doing this because it's going to exclude people, but I'm going to do it anyway, And I know, like, ammo and sniffers don't use strobes. I've never seen strobes on their thing. And Amy's told me she's got it on they got it on the thing, no strobes. And they're doing pretty well for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think you need strobes.
You don't need it at all, no.
If you do, maybe you're not that good.
Yeah.
But then there's other, like, I know DJs that have it, and they like DJ around Europe a lot, but people just don't listen a lot of the time, It's quite hard, but people listen to me, I'm able-bodied, I am confident, I speak like I grew up next to the airport, because I did. I'm tall, like I'm a man. People just listen to you more, and that kind of sucks. Then people are like, oh, we can't have strobes because Carlson's here. And it's like, no. That's not why you can't have strobes. It's like, can't have strobes because of everyone. And people are like, oh, epileptics. It's like, well, 10% of people with epilepsy struggle with the lights. But if you're on the spectrum, that's a hell of a lot higher, and it's a lot more people on the spectrum than have epilepsy, and it's a hell of a lot of people on the spectrum that love music, and then they can't go to gigs. And I know people that have never been to a rave because they just can't.
I mean, even just sort of like, because I went and saw I went and saw the Dillinger Escape Plan recently, and I mean, I love the band. I'd completely forgotten what their live show was like, and I left with an absolutely belter of a headache, because just the lights that they were using, it was so difficult to actually enjoy the show. And I mean, and the entire time I was actually also thinking of yourself. I was just sort of thinking, like, what would someone like Carlson be saying right now? They'd probably be saying, look, this venue that held I'm not going to name them, this venue that held the show, maybe pull your socks up a bit, maybe sort of like, think about the show that you're presenting. But I mean,
it's
obviously
also
it's also not them, because the
places I talk to are smaller venues, so it's a lot easier, but like the whole Meredith thing, with them, they cut it back. So it's like there's different symbols on whether you want to no strobes, bit of moving light, or intense strobing, and that makes people go, oh, maybe we won't do it, because you've been asked the question. Otherwise, in previous years, they just sort of go with that. And I can see why they do that, because you invite Kraftwerk over, and most of their show is this lighting setup that they've probably paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for, and that's what people are kind of coming to see. So I can get why, and like Dillinger, I can get why they're doing that.
Totally. Yeah.
Dillinger don't really need strobes. My head's strobing listening to Dillinger anyway.
Exactly right.
They're great.
Exactly
You know,
right.
it's like you don't have to chuck strobes on top of
No,
that.
not at all.
Yeah, but it's a difficult one. But I'm wrapped. I think that, if people remember me for that, like, that's pretty cool. And it is going further and further. Hopefully, eventually we'll get like a hell of a lot more inclusion.
Absolutely. I'm definitely glad that there are voices like yours out there, sort of like, pushing for things like this and hopefully affecting real change. So hopefully we just
it is
see
hard.
that.
Like, I don't get offered festivals if they have strobes. Like, my festival, like, I only get offered the festivals if they don't use strobes. Like, now, since then, because they're scared. I'll just call them out. And
I mean, rightly so. Yeah.
Yeah. But it just means, it's kind of, on one hand, you're like, oh, how much have I shot myself in the foot here? But yeah, luckily with this one, I think that not getting as many festivals has been worth it for what Meredith's done with their lighting and how much it did shine a light on strobes.
Nice turn of phrase.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm going to attempt a very laboured segue. You won't be playing any festivals off the back of this new album of yours called OC Spray, which obviously we're here to discuss mainly. That's a terrible segue. But the album is an absolute belter, mate. I listened to it again this morning. It's easily one of my favourite albums of the year. So obviously it follows on from, a bit much and a bit too much. So I guess what was the plan going into things here? Were you basically going into it saying, all right, album time, or is it a bit of a snapshot of your creative process and you just had a bit more material?
No, it was like album time. I think the second EP probably should have been an album, really. Like, I should have put an album in then. But once again, it's just time, I work 2, sometimes 3 jobs, depending on how broke I am, and then music as well. And just admin. They never tell you how much admin's in music. Like, seems to be half my life, So kind of, that's why the Sarah Mary Chadwick song ended up on there, because it took so long, and that allowed me. I made that song. That was going to be for something else, but I was like, I think I want to put this on the album. It's too good, and it will really break up the album. I don't think a lot of people are going to be expecting me to pull out a piano ballad at this point. So
it's a very, very striking song on the album. Like, it's a huge standout. I think just for the fact that it's a huge sort of like stylistic shift from what people would be expecting. But it's absolute corker of a song. Like, it really stands tall though.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's been getting a hell of a lot of play on community radio.
Yeah.
Like, I think it got played on Triple R every day for the first week that it came out, and a couple of times twice a day.
Because it's like, it's also a very sort of vulnerable song as well. So, I mean, that's obviously a bit of I guess it's not too much of a departure, because the lyrics that you have, they're quite personal, and also while being quite, outspoken and everything, but something that's sort of, nakedly vulnerable. Like, was there any apprehension in doing something like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There was so much apprehension, but that's kind of when I look at why I'm apprehensive, and then I usually go for it. Like, I was apprehensive because it is so vulnerable, and I'm singing. I've never sang on stage, like, apart from karaoke. Like, I've never sang in a band before. I've yelled, I've screamed, but never sang. And then, it's just about my life. My dad suicided when I was 14, and then sort of what that does to your life, and even talking about family on, things like that in music so explicitly is like, it's pretty daunting.
Yeah. Totally.
And it's, but I'm so glad I put it out. And that's why I put it out, because if you're really like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, and if the reasons aren't because it's going to be, you know, you think it's going to be a bad song, or, you know, you're being offensive or whatever. If it's not that, then
Yeah.
get
And
out there
and
and do it.
the album is all the more better for it as well. But I mean, because I think that's one thing I do love about your music is that a lot of the time it is it's quite unexpected, you know, because like you've got like a chorus in like Amethyst Stoned, which sort of shouldn't work. That chorus doesn't feel like it should work. And then you've also got like Change in Style with the hyperpop Money song. And again, not much of a straight man. So I guess like I mean, this versatility, it feels like it works so much. But I mean, I guess you've sort of said it there. But was this really a case of doing, as a band called King Brown once said, just give it a burl, you know?
Yeah, so give it a whirl. Yeah, and I did want to explore different styles of music. You know, I didn't expect my music to work at the start, and then when it did, I was like, all right, let's try some other things. And I like so many different types of music, and I think everybody does now due to streaming and being able to access it. I mean, that Punkorama CD would have been the only CD I bought that month. And then the next month, maybe I bought one of the records that was on that CD. You know, one of the bands that was on that CD. You know, and maybe you'd get through them, and maybe your mate would burn you something. You know, but just being able to listen to everything now is really anything you want, which is just wild. Yeah, it's really opened my ears to different music. And like when I was listening to hardcore, that was it. I listened to hardcore, and I generally don't. I generally listen to Australian music, um, especially stuff from Nam. Like I like to see bands. I like to go and watch bands, and I find it a bit hard to get hyped on a band if I don't think I'm ever going to see them, or maybe I will see them, but it'll be at a huge venue or a stadium or something like that. You know, I want to be at the top at Nighthawks, like seeing these. And I think especially at the start, when you see a band that's starting to do something, then yeah, there's just like,
There's something magic in sort of, you know, like capturing them in those early days, isn't there?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's a band that I manage who I was able to see their second gig, and I saw that and I just thought I need to get in on the ground floor of this. I need to see them so many. I mean, I've seen them like 35 times now, and that was before I started managing them. And
yeah,
it's that sort of thing where it's like you have that passion and you're just like, God, like I want more people to know about this. I want people to come to this sweaty venue on Johnston Street and just, you know, experience it live. And I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why I was really sort of drawn to what you were doing as well. Is like, because I mean, I remember seeing that show you did it as Shot Kickers and just thinking, well, I think you've done a few shows with Shot Kickers, but seeing one of them and just thinking, you know, this vibe, this feels so right. And it feels so communal, it feels so welcoming, and it was a magical experience. And I feel like I've said the word experience about 50 times in this podcast, but the point stands.
yeah. Well, it is, and yeah, I don't know. I just want people to come together and feel safe. You know, be able to go to a show. I remember when it was just mostly men playing music. You know, and in the hardcore scene, that was full of creeps as well. You know, it's like, and I saw that shift happen, and how much better shows got, and yeah, how much more inclusive it felt, and yeah, now with just, and there's so many trans artists that are just mind blowing. You know, like Simona Kashkum, Alex RP, Captain Beat Boop. I still don't know how Captain Beat Boop is not like on the tally and like everywhere. It's like such an amazing show. The lyrics are so smart. It's funny. It's full of trauma. And then she's playing through a payphone, like that's been totally wired up as a synth. It's, yeah, and the stage show's amazing. It's, yeah, yeah, there's just, it's changed so much. And I just hopefully I can keep that going in some way. And seeing as though I got a few sort of people that come to my shows and put these bands on, and
Absolutely. And
hopefully they can. become bigger than me.
And I also definitely have to give a shout out to Captain Beat Boot, because I remember seeing a poster for I think it was a single launch or something, which was the brilliantly titled "Gender Identity is a Slippery Slope," and brother, I'm going skiing. Loved that. That was the moment that said to me, I have to go, like, I'll try not to use the word experience, but I have to go experience this. Um, so I guess, what does, because you've had all these different sort of like genres and styles and everything on this record, but I guess what does the future hold? Like, do you have any sort of like genres or avenues you haven't sort of explored yet that you're thinking want to go down there? Like, like, could we see a return to the hardcore aspect? Could we see like a country approach? Never know.
Hardcore, probably not. I'm not like, I go to Mindsnare shows, I'll go to the odd hardcore show, but I'm not involved in the scene, and hardcore really is a scene thing. And I guess when I was in it was like the last time it had a big wave of popularity. I think when we started, like, that was all Parkway Drive and things were starting then, and that obviously just got huge. Prom Queen, like all those sort of metalcore bands got massive, and they all just came out of the hardcore scene. And then it dipped off, and now it's back. You know, you got Speed kicking ass, and yeah, I think it's a bit on the nose to just pop back into hardcore.
Yeah. You really have
Really,
to be
really,
immersed within the scene to actually sort of like pop your head back up, don't you?
yeah. Country record, certainly. I would love to do a country record. It might be a few off though. I love country music. Um, when I play guitar, I play mostly country music or folk stuff. Um, but in the future, one of my favorite artists has asked me to do a concept record. So we might look into that, but I don't really want to say who it is. And then I'll do something with the Sarah Mary Chadwick for sure. Like, yeah, like maybe another song with her and Jeff O'Connor, who did Not Much of a Straight Man with me, or an album with Sarah. I'm not quite sure. She's so prolific. It's out of control. I was at her house the other day. We're in the garage, it's grand piano set up, and she's going through these thick binders looking for our song. And I think there was 6 binders full of music. It's like every double page is a song. And there was like 5 or 6 binders done. And then like after she's done my song with me, which was like a year ago.
That's crazy, honestly. Like
It's crazy. She's writing songs for people. She's currently doing all of the visuals and the music for a play. She's like, yeah, she's got a country record that she performed with a band, and she reckons she's not going to put it out. And it's amazing. It sounds like the band.
Yeah.
The other day, she's like, you should have it, Carlson. You'd be great. She's like, the band's ready to go. I'll play with you. It's like, amazing. But yeah, she's also been recording a lot and doing some more atmospheric kind of rap, electronic stuff. So I don't know. I like being in a room with Sarah making music. We work well together, and it's very fun.
Yeah. Stunning musician, and clearly someone that just almost makes you angry at how good they are and how prolific they are, doesn't it?
She's one of the ones where you're like, oh, I wish I wrote that line. Oh, I wish I wrote that line. Oh, that's so simple, but it's so devastating.
Yeah, and that to me is peak songwriting. The sort of thing where you think, oh, I wish I could have done that, and then or you sort of think that feels so simple. I could have done that, but then you realize, but you didn't. Sarah did.
Yeah. And then I have another play that's kind of half finished. I did one, Strobes Are on the Nose, which is with hex tape and golden scissor puppets. And that went really well. And I sort of half written another one. It's about aliens. I work in one of my jobs in rubbish removal, and we do a lot of deceased estates. And, once you got it, we can recycle it, we can resell it, whatever. And I found this whole collection of this guy's life that it's supposedly got real to real footage of aliens on Cube Boulevard. He's got manuscripts of all his dealings with aliens. There's like he was a puppeteer as well. He was in the Herald Sun. He worked at Channel 9. There's all 60s medium format photos of Channel 9, the ABC, Channel 7, like backstage. And yeah, it's just it's an absolutely amazing story. There's like 6 zines that he put out. And yeah, it's a wild story. And yeah, I tried to get a grant, but I didn't get it. They're all scared of the aliens. They know it's real, you know. The government knows. They don't want this getting out. It's going to change the world.
They've got to keep a lid on it before Carlson blows it all up.
But I think I need a grant before I finish that. I can't. But also, I don't really get grants.
Understandable. Well,
I've gotten one. I think I've given up. So everyone's like, no, I'll go for this grant. And then I go for it and don't get it. And I'm like, could have written 5 songs then.
Yeah, I mean, it's so disheartening, isn't it? Like all these applications, all the process involved, and you just realize it's such a time sink, and you're just like, I could have been so much more productive. I could have been furthering, the public good by creating more art instead I've wasted it on this grant which I never got. But that's the life of being an artist in Australia, sadly.
Yeah. Well, you can see in Europe how much different it is, and like in France, I think if you play like somewhere between 40 and 50 shows a year, they give you the equivalent of rent.
Amazing.
Yeah. So if you play them in France, and that can be cafe shows, whatever, but it just means there's constant music going around and touring around. And yeah,
definitely think the Australian government could take a few pointers, couldn't they?
Yeah. And what the Irish just gave everyone.
I was thinking that, yeah.
300 and something pounds a week. Well, not everyone. I think there's obviously some hoops to go through. But they worked out on the test run that for every pound they'd put in, they got £2 back.
Actually, I was reading about that, I think only yesterday, the day before, and I was looking at all the categories of it, and it's like, you could be you'll be a playwright, and it gives you like the stipulation of what that sort of means. And my favorite part was the one right down the bottom. It just said you could be an architect. What does this mean? Architect. I'm like, okay. They couldn't simplify that any further. Well, I feel like I should get down to the portion of the podcast from which its namesake comes from. So Trusty Chords sees me follow the 1, 3, and 5 structure of a standard chord. So I ask about 1 artist that's been impactful, 3 albums that have been influential, and 5 songs you can always turn to. So my first question for you here, Carlson, who is the 1 artist that has inspired you the most, whether it be personally or creatively?
Should have read these questions.
That's where the magic of editing comes into it. I'll make you sound good.
No, you let this. I mean, Cash Savage it's just been amazing to watch her like journey, and she's so staunch and just stays straight and does she doesn't stay straight, that's for sure, but she does what she's going to do and stays in that line doing it, and she's made such a difference. The amount of like non-cis males that would have seen her perform over the years and gone, oh my God, this is so powerful, I could do this, and have gotten up there would be amazing. The support she's given to always booking local acts and trying to find new local acts to work with and interesting stuff. Her knowledge of the industry is insane. It is just wild, like sometimes I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about here. She knows about French tax structures, she knows about everybody in the industry, and her music has changed. Every album is different. And it feels like every album grows and gets better. And a band, how do you keep a 7-piece band together for 15 years? How do you do that? Like when you're in your 20s, it's not too bad, but people get real jobs and they start having kids and things like that. But
Clearly a testament to Cash's just, all what's the word, all out brilliance just with
Yeah.
everything that she does. I mean, because I mean, like, I know that there are a lot of people who might see, for example, they'll look at a record and they'll see mastered by Mikey Young, and they're like, oh yeah, that's a sign of quality. The second I see Cash's name anywhere, I'm like, yeah, that's the sign that you're in for a good time. If Cash
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
involved, you know it's going to be solid.
Yeah. She's amazing, and producing as well. She's such a good producer. I think she doesn't get as much credit as that for that because she's female. Um, but yeah, in the studio, she's amazing and so creative. And yeah, she can sing so high too, so high, like Mary Poppins shit. It's amazing. Oh, you're in the kitchen, like, oh, what's going on there? Just constantly surprise you, constantly. And her support for me has just been huge, and she doesn't give compliments unless you've earned a compliment, which I love. I have a couple of friends like that, and you need them, and then when they say something's good, you're like, oh, yeah, it must be good.
Yeah. Keeps you striving for the best, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So my next question here, what are the 3 albums that have impacted you the most? This could be albums you're always throwing on or something integral to the musical evolution.
Mind Snare, The Death was, yeah, like Hang Choke, Wrist Slit, the record before I love as well. But I wasn't around when that came out. And I think being around when The Death came out and just seeing that played so many times at the art house to a full house and everyone's going wild was just something else. And I just idolized those guys, and I guess their crew as well. I didn't really, when I was like 18, 19, 20, I didn't know anyone that was 30 years old that hadn't given up on life or like, wasn't like people I knew of that age were tradies that were grumpy and they didn't like their life at all. And they'd say, just enjoy this time. It's going to be the best time of your life. You'll look back on these as the greatest time of your life. And I always thought, geez, I fucking hope that's not the case, and it hasn't been. But to see like, yeah, that crew and people just living a different kind of life and kicking ass was like just mind altering to me. I was like, oh, I don't have to buy a house. I don't have to save up and buy a house, like, whereas I don't have to get a good job. I can just live the life that I want to live and find my way. So I guess that, The Death. What else have we got? What have I got here? Oh, man, this record. My friend Ludo gave me this. Red Tessia and Marinescu. This is like some French jazz that is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. You can put that on at any time, that record. I got about 10 records by Relations of Frenzy here. Cash Savage, that's the Hypnotizer on Beast Records. That's a double because the Hypnotizer actually doesn't quite fit on a record. So they had to cut a little bit of stuff, but that's a double record with the whole thing on there. They're on Beast. That's a ripper. What other? Anything by Propagandy? Maybe. I don't love Failed States. I feel like that felt like it was the first record where they didn't change much from supporting cast. People love that record, but I don't know. It feels like the B-sides of supporting cast to me.
I understand where you're coming from there, actually. I actually, funnily enough, I actually had, I've forgotten his name, the singer of Propaganda. Chris, yes, I had him on this podcast a few months ago, actually, and sadly, I didn't get a chance to say, mate, it feels like the B-sides too.
Yeah, but they're so good, so political,
yeah. Brilliant,
and positive, and yeah, I just love all those records. I got Today's Empires, Tomorrow's Ashes on Soviet Union Red,
Oh, yes.
which no effects sing
That's
about,
exactly what I was thinking of.
for $10.50 from the secondhand bin at Missing Link.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's got
impressive.
like the big zine in it and everything. I think it's worth like $300 or something now.
Amazing.
That was a pretty good day of Missing Link.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then Kings of Country 1 and 2. If you can find them, they're not that hard to find, but they're awesome. It's like Sun recording stuff.
Mm.
And like it's Johnny Cash, but it's songs that you haven't heard a million times. It's like some older, rare stuff that's really, really good.
Amazing choices there, I have to say.
I'm always putting that on.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's some I always love choices like this which allow me to sort of like go back and discover a little bit more because like I mean like I've heard of this Kings of Country before, but I've never had a chance to actually sort of like listen to it. So I that's what I love about this podcast. I get a chance to really go back and think this is what makes these folks I'm talking to tick, and I love that.
Yeah. And
Um,
yeah, I have to get a house. I'm in a house, but it's not mine. I'm currently cat sitting. But to go overseas and play shows and to put a record out myself and to do menial jobs, so I can do music, means there's not much money around. So it's nearly been a year. I decided to not have a house, and I put all my stuff in storage at a friend's place in the country, and I lived at their place for a bit, and then some friends were moving out of a house, their house with their kids, and they were going to knock it down. It was an old house and build a new one. So I was soft squatting. I moved in there for a few months, and then eventually I was gardening at this house, charging all of my stuff. And the lady asked me what I was doing, and I said, I don't have power. And she was a bit shocked. And I said, it's all right, I can afford rent. I'm just choosing to do this so I can do music. And she was like, I go away all the time. So stayed here, bit of couch surfing. But problem with that is I have 20 records on me,
yeah, can't always take the collection with you when you're doing a bit of couch surfing, can you?
It's hard to move 1,500 records,
Don't I know it? Yeah.
really hard. And I'm also bad at listening to music on streaming services, like thinking of what to listen to. I like a physical, I'll just listen to the same stuff all
Yeah,
the time.
I understand it.
Um,
I've decided to actually start listening to as much new music in a year as I can, and I think this year I'm on track to listen to about 700 new albums. Like I think today alone I've listened to eight new albums, and there's some great stuff out there, but there's also quite a bit of stuff that's like, yeah, it's not the best. So yeah, but yeah, otherwise I would just find myself listening to the same stuff over and over again, and it just becomes. I mean, sure, it becomes ingrained within your memory, but you're like, yeah, but I could be expanding my mind, etc.
yeah.
I'm sure we could talk about that for hours, but I guess the last question I have for you to drag it all back to this awfully unwieldy concept I have. I'd love to know the 5 songs you could always turn to, whether it be for comfort, for excitement, anything at all. Your 5 trusty songs.
When Will Death Come? Sarah Mary Chadwick. There's always something going on when I'm listening to that. And sometimes it can be like I'm in a really good mood. Sometimes it can be a really bad mood. I don't know, but I love that song. It's absolutely just crushing. Anything by Nikos Alouris. He's the great uncle of Frenzy and is known as the voice of the people or the Archangel of Crete. His music was banned for I think 10 years in Greece because it was so political, and there was the army, like the militia, was in charge of Greece then, and he was at a lot of the protests and down with the school kids. at the universities and stuff. And yeah, got banned, and everything he's got, everything he's done is just amazing. So he died when he was 40. George Harrison flew to the village to play guitar with him for a week before he died. It's just like, it's a wild story. His brother still plays, Serentones. He's played a couple of the All Tomorrow's parties, and it's just, he's a lot darker. If you like it darker, that's where you go to. Yeah. Time and Again by Charlie Rich. It's on that Kings of Country. Now, I'm not a big Charlie Rich fan. His country's a little bit too produced for me. And it's like, I guess it was when Nashville got really big and, yeah, everything was a bit brighter. But this is from before that era when he was at Sun Studios. And it's a lot more stripped back, him playing the piano. That is a beautiful song. And what else am I always going to? Man, I really haven't been listening to too much music because I've just been doing admin, and I don't know. And I get a bit hooked into music, and then I'm not doing my admin, you know? Yeah. So what else do I say? Who else is the best? Gender Identity is a Slippery Slope by Captain Beeper. Oh, such a good song.
And such a great title as well.
Man, listen to that song. It's got everything, you know? It's got, it'll make you laugh, make you cry, and it's so smart, you know? It's so just smart and just makes TERFs, right-wing freaks look like idiots. You just got to listen.
That's what we want at the end of the day, don't we?
Yeah. Just listen to that song. Yeah. I also really like Cash Savage's. It's not on that record. What's the song called? Remember the time we had too much wine. Left out on the floor. I can't remember what the song's even called. And again. Anyway, I can just picture the scene.
Was it Sunday Morning?
Yeah, Sunday Morning. Sunday Morning.
Brilliant.
Yeah, well, that is an amazing song. Quite simple, but just beautiful.
Yeah. Some very nice choices you've come up with there, mate. Some very good choices, actually, looking at them.
Thank you. Yeah, as I said, I like all kinds of music.
Mm.
And, you know, now that I've started singing, I don't know if I'll stop.
So sing, what do we say? It's, singing on a record is a slippery slope, and brother, we're going skiing, isn't it?
Yeah, singing with Sarah Mary Chadwick next to the piano is a slippery slope, that's for sure.
Well, I feel like this is where I should say, Carlson, thank you so very much for your time today, mate, and for being part of the Trusty Chords podcast as well.
Oh, thanks very much, mate.
Thank you for listening to Trusty Chords. If you listened to this episode and enjoyed it, I'd really appreciate it if you were able to take a few moments to like, follow, share, and review this podcast on your preferred platform of choice. As always, no obligation, but I'm forever grateful if you do. And as always, I'm over on Instagram and Facebook at Trusty Chords Podcast, all one word. I've also got the blog on my website, which is tylerjenke.com, that's TYLERJENKE/Trusty Chords Podcast, all one word. That's where you can find a list of all the songs chosen by my guests each week, along with a playlist of all the songs chosen thus far. You can also find a link to the Buy Me a Coffee platform, where you can throw me a few dollars to keep this podcast running, if you feel so inclined. I also need to thank Carlson for spending his time with me this week for the podcast. As always, it was a true pleasure. But once again, thank you kindly for listening, and I hope to see you all again next week as I continue to celebrate music and those that create it.